The world's top players have moved from the PGA Tour to LIV and are now suffering the effects of not winning any ranking points. Despite that, LIV golfers like Pat Perez are still adamant about their decision to stick with the new series. But it looks like the DP Tour isn't completely sure how to handle the new order in the golfing world. We'll be covering all of that news in today's video. First up, LIV doesn't receive ranking points. The LIV Golf series had its first ever event back in June, but has been the subject of controversy ever since it was announced earlier last year. Because they're backed by Saudi investors with deep pockets, they've been able to lure in some of the biggest names in golf with large, guaranteed salaries. However, it isn't all about the money. The stars that they've managed to secure on their rosters have only gotten their fame because of their dedication and passion for the sport. But what happens when they no longer have an incentive to keep performing? Well, every day that goes by gets us closer and closer to finding out the answer to that question. A month after the LIV held its first international golf event, the organization put in its application for world ranking points. Unfortunately, the organization that's responsible, Official World Golf Ranking, or OWGR, has yet to formally recognize the new series. That's definitely got to do with the controversy surrounding it, considering that players in the LIV are currently being barred from playing in PGA Tour events, as well as other partnered tours. There are few avenues that have allowed them to win ranking points. So far, there have only been 2 majors and a few European Tour events that have allowed a select number of players to gain points in the system. That's left the LIV scrambling, and they've made a number of attempts to resolve the issue, including a legal battle with the PGA Tour. Next, players falling in the rankings. Coming into 2022, the LIV had already secured 18 of the top 50 players in the world. Because of not being able to allot ranking points, the number has dropped down to 11. Of the 18 that were in the top 50, 9 of them were in the top 25. But now there are only 3 left in that group. If the LIV continues on like this, none of their players will be officially counted among the best in the world. Take Dustin Johnson as an example. He's had a total of 24 PGA Tour wins, and was at one point the #1 golf player in the world. He only joined the LIV back in May of this year, when he was ranked number 13, but 6 months later, he's now at number 31, behind Corey Connors. Then you have the players that have fallen out of the top 100 in the rankings. There are 9 of them in total, and among them are legendary players Phil Mickelson, Ian Poulter, and Matthew Wolff. The rankings are more than just bragging rights. They serve as a means for players to get special consideration when selecting participants for major events and tournaments. It makes sense that the LIV and its players would be making a noise about the OWGR neglecting to recognize their events. Let's talk more about the majors and selection. As we've mentioned before, some majors have historically given attention to the world rankings when considering who to invite for participation. But there's no getting around the fact that the LIV has brought more change to the golfing landscape in these past 2 years than anything else that has happened in the past half-century. You'd think that something like this would cause rethinking old policies, but it's still uncertain how much the majors will take world ranking points into account when it comes time to select players. If the majors kept everything the way it was, following the world ranking system as before, it's clear that 35 of the leading 48 players in the LIV won't be exempt from qualification into the Masters Tournament, US Open, or British Open next year. The PGA Championship actually selects most of its participants using world rankings, and the majority of these invitations go to players in the top 100. As of the first week of November, the only LIV players that are guaranteed to participate in all 4 majors are Mickelson, Bryson DeChambeau, Cameron Smith, Brooks Koepka, and potentially Dustin Johnson as well. But get this, that's not even due to their current positions in the rankings, but because they've each won majors since 2019. Winning a major normally gives you a 5-year exemption from qualifying for it and other majors. Now, for Westwood's baffling Legends Tour offer. Things are clearly a mess right now when it comes to professional golf, but what's going on with Lee Westwood, a veteran of the PGA Tour, makes it more evident than ever before. The DP World Tour, which is part of the PGA European Tour, has been attempting to ban LIV players from participating in its events, and that includes Westwood. But the Worksop native was recently approached by a representative of the Legends Tour, which he'll be eligible to play next year once he turns 50 years old. The Legends Tour is the senior partner tour to the DP World Tour, so Westwood is understandably confused by what's going on. He told The Telegraph that following the BMW PGA Championship, where he and other LIV players felt like they weren't welcome, he was contacted by senior executives of the Legends Tour. He was asked if he'd be willing to play in a few of their events when he passes 50. They even said that there would be a decent salary in it for him if he said yes. But all of that just baffled Westwood, who wondered about what the European Tour's plan was, given everything that was happening. At the moment, players from the LIV are not allowed to participate in DP World Tour events, though, as they are contesting the decision to ban them in a court of law. A panel presided over by Sports Resolutions UK will make a verdict next year in February on whether the ban can legitimately go through. Coming up, Westwood's feelings about the ban. Westwood has a pretty long history with the European Tour. Over the course of more than 20 years, he's won a total of 25 events on the tour, with his latest win being in 2020 at the Abu Dhabi HSBC Championship. But even after all that hard work, it seems he's ready to turn his back on it. He even went as far as to say that he wasn't even bothered about the outcome of the tour ban's legal case. In his interview with The Telegraph, he brought up the fact that the LIV was going to have 14 events next year. Then there's also the promise of players being able to play in the Asian Tour for world ranking points, so he's not all that bothered about the potential ban. What he is concerned about is hearing why the DP World Tour wants him gone specifically. It's clearly more of a personal matter to him, and he wants to know what exactly he's done wrong to warrant this treatment, considering he's supported the tour for so long. Despite all the drama and controversy, Westwood still said that he's enjoyed his first year with the LIV Golf Series. At his age, it's not common to receive such a generous offer like the ones that the LIV have been dishing out, so he's more than glad to play on the new tour. Lastly, Pat Perez hits out at critics. Pat Perez hasn't been performing all that well in the LIV's individual events, and critics have been on his case throughout the season, but that hasn't stopped him from celebrating. Even though he hasn't reached the top 10 in any of the LIV's 7 individual events, he's still managed to pocket a whopping $7 million cash prize. That's thanks to his team, 4 Aces, becoming the LIV's maiden team champions this year. It was a well-earned spraying of champagne in the first week of November, as the All-American team consisting of Dustin Johnson, Patrick Reed, Taylor Gooch, and Perez had managed to take home 4 of the 7 team events in the season. The team was led by Johnson, who was also crowned individual champion by the end of the season. Many have still criticized him for a lack of form, even though his efforts contributed to his team's victory. But the large prize money seems like it's enough for Perez to ignore the negativity. He said as much himself after his 4 Aces victory. He told interviewers that all the negative comments and pushback he's gotten don't really matter to him. At the end of the day, he's still getting paid, and he was a part of a team that played incredibly well in the past year. He did express that the criticisms have gotten to him earlier, but succeeding with his team was all that mattered now. That's a wrap for this video. What do you think about the no points drama? Who do you think will be affected the most? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.